What's cracking, everybody? Happy Tuesday evening to you. This is the Overtime Sports Show coming to you live, as always, for the next hour or so, bringing you the best in the world of sports. My name is Greg Gross. My co-host on the other side, Dan O'Brien. Dan, how we doing?
Oh, we're doing awesome. It's another great Tuesday. We got some fun stuff coming up. We got baseball season kicking in, and we're rocking and rolling, just ready to rock and roll in this 23rd episode.
Absolutely, man. 23 episodes. Every episode is kind of hard to believe, but I'm glad we're here doing it. And we've had a couple things that ring true pretty much every show, and that's your hat reveal. I understand you got a good one for me. You didn't let too much out of the bag other than it's unique, right? Perhaps the most unique one yet. So I'm excited to see it.
Yep. So
where's yours, my man?
All right, hold on 1 second.
Oh, wait. Is that what I think it is? No. Hold on. I can make it out from the video, but maybe it's not what I think. All right, hit me with it. What is it?
All right. So I'm going to add to the stage a little bit of reading material. This is the Jacksonville Jets. It was a minor league baseball team. They played in Jacksonville for 1 year, 1961. They, like I said, were only in there for 1 year. This is actually the logo. So if you look right here, you can see it's the smiley face with the jet going around. So I did a bunch of research on this hat on Saturday. A friend of the show, Jeff Creason, let me borrow it. Let me use it to keep the hat streak going. We looked all over the place. This hat is no longer sold, no longer in circulation. So it's pretty much a relic. And what makes it so cool is, like I said, it's a one-of-a-kind hat. So it's very, very unique. Just reading on here, it says that in 1961, ownership deal changed the team name from the Braves to the Jacksonville Jets. And the Jets were not successful as the Braves because what happened was it was the Jacksonville Braves, and then they went with the Houston Colt 45s, which is now the Houston Astros. And for 1 year in 1961, Samuel Wolfson, who the name of the Jacksonville Suns Park, who we talked about a couple episodes ago, was the name of the ballpark, was Wolfson Bar Park. So after that, after 1 year, the Jacksonville Suns then turned into the Jacksonville Suns, or the Jacksonville Jets turned into the Jacksonville Suns, which is who we mentioned, I want to say 4 or 5 episodes ago. But like I said, very, very unique hat, very, very cool. No longer in circulation, so I wanted to pop this bad boy out.
Yeah, that's unique as an understatement. You were spot on. I've never heard of them before. The logo is pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah.
So a couple questions come to mind. They're a minor league team. Who were they affiliates for?
So they weren't affiliated for anybody. So what it was, it's kind of a weird situation. So first it was the Jacksonville Tars, who played in Jacksonville from 1926. Then in a Jacksonville businessman, Samuel W. Wilson, brought the Tars franchise and signed an affiliation with the Boston Braves, who became the Milwaukee Braves very shortly after. The team was reorganized and renamed the Jacksonville Braves. So after that, the Braves went with the Milwaukee Braves and pulled their affiliation with Jacksonville. So the Braves came to an end and then were replaced by the short-lived Jacksonville Jets, this hat right here.
Wow, okay.
And they played 1 year in 1961.
Being that they were only around for such a short period of time, I doubt the answer to this question is yes, or that you would even know. But I'm curious, you think there was anybody notable that played for them? People that maybe either we heard of or would recognize?
So actually, I don't think so. No, I mean, you can kind of see these are the players. I mean, I don't recognize any of these guys. You can kind of see just Don Aldridge, Ray Cron, Ron Davis, Jim Dobson, Dave Gagusti, Jim Greengrass, John Kennedy, Wayne Minshew. So no, sir.
Nobody. Yeah. Interesting. That hat's got to be almost like a one of one kind of thing.
That's what I mean. Yeah. I don't know where he found it, but like I said, he, friend of the show, Jeff Creason, dropped off a shipment of hats per se. And I thought this would just be super unique.
I wonder if somebody who, there's got to be people out there who have absolutely massive amounts of, hats and memorabilia, if a historic collector would be interested in almost obtaining something like that. I'm curious if it that kind of hat is on eBay or anything like that.
Yeah, you could type it in. Only thing that comes in is Jacksonville Jaguars and New York Jets. We tried everything. So
Oh, so you did do some searching too? Like you looked?
yeah, so the reason why we knew it was the Jets, hold on one second.
Yeah, I don't see anything on eBay. That's
So you can
interesting.
see it's still got the sticker on it.
Yeah.
So with that sticker, that's how we were able to make sure it was the Jets. But like I said, super unique hat, super cool hat, and one of a kind. So it's going to
Really
go down.
interesting.
And
When did he get it? Because it looks new. It looks like it's in good shape.
I mean, I don't think he got it a couple years ago, but I
Hmm.
mean, he kept it in his closet. And like I said, we'll probably put this one in the retiree after this one, put on the rafters because it's a one of a kind.
That's awesome. I do like that. I'm a sucker for history and good stories, and certainly a surprise. And you nailed it. Like that's as unique as it gets. So awesome.
Yep, I got more up my sleeve too for next week. I got a themed hat for next week, just not to get it too far ahead of ourselves. But yep, we're ready to rock and roll.
Love it, man. You bring it the start of every show. It's that's a cool story. So
yes, sir.
And awesome trivia question, actually. Unique team name and all that. So
yeah,
good stuff. We'll definitely come back to baseball at some point. I wanted to lead out with a little bit of hockey. We led out with that. I think last show I had some thoughts on my team, the Devils, just not doing well, and I wanted to revisit that. For hockey fans out there, probably seen the news. Hits home close to me because Devils actually fired their coach yesterday. Came as a bit of a surprise to me. Kind of news broke in the evening. They had a pretty bad loss on Sunday to the Kings, who are a good team, but just was a really bad showing. And I guess it motivated the GM, Tom Fitzgerald, to finally do something. I'm glad he did something. It shows that he had a bit of a pulse. But in my opinion, it's a little too late. Way too many losses. It's way too late in the season. So I really don't think this can be salvaged for this year, but certainly I guess leads a little bit of optimism going into next year. But it just kind of makes me think of you, Dan, because we know you're a fan of the Islanders and you guys did something similar this season, but you did it a lot earlier. It was kind of a surprise, I think, to most fans when you guys got rid of Lambert and then brought in, of all people, Patrick Waugh. I don't think many people saw that coming, but I think you did it at the right time. It seems like Waugh is probably going to be around for a couple seasons. The Devils, on the other hand, just have Travis Green, who also coincidentally was an Islander for a number of years. And I don't think he's going to be the full-time head coach next year, sort of just a stopgap, which, again, is all the more reason why I'm a little confused. If they had another coach ready in the wings, I could see them bringing him in now. They give him 20 games to coach the team when it really doesn't matter. So you really don't have much to lose. But with 20 games left and you don't have the coach for next year, I really don't understand firing him now. Again, not upset about it, really. I think it had to be done. I just don't really understand the timing, but is what it is. They are where they are. They've got a lot more holes on the team than just the coach. Goaltending has been putrid all year. Defense and turnovers have been terrible. Coaching was just one of the things that needed to change. So happy they did it, but remains to be seen exactly why and where they go. They definitely got some work cut out for them in the offseason. I don't know if you got any thoughts of that. And, it's been a week since we talked hockey last season. I don't know if you got any thoughts on your boys now that it's, every week we inch a little bit closer to the playoffs and you guys are still in the dogfight for it. But
yeah. I mean, we, talking about you guys, I think it was just a little late to get rid of your coach. I mean, you touched on it, 20 some odd games left. It's kind of like, why do a shakeup now when you're still kind of treading water? It would have been, probably should have fired him when we fired Lambert. If I had to guess, we listened to Boomer and Gio in the morning and they were saying last year, they all wanted Lindy Ruff to get fired. Then you guys went on that playoff run. And then beginning of last year, they wanted Lindy Ruff to be fired, and then you went on like a 18-1 run. Beginning of last year they wanted him fired. Went on an 18-1 run, and then made it in the playoffs. Beginning of this year, was kind of treading water and still wanted to fire Lindy, and they kept him this long. So kind of perplexing as to why. I mean, a lot of injuries. The Jack Hughes injury was pretty tough. Goaltending's been tough, and power play's been tough. So I think maybe just a little late, but who knows? I mean, you guys can get on a run. You have the talent. I mean, you have a really good team, a young team at that. And
Yeah.
any update on Dougie Hamilton? Like, is he going to be coming back anytime soon, or have you heard anything?
No, that's another thing that kind of upset me about the team. They're just very vague about injuries. They're tight-lipped. They don't let much leak, and I don't really know why. It's. I mean, are you trying to save something against other teams and surprise people and make them think that a guy like Dougie is going to come back in the lineup any day now? I don't get the secrecy. I like a little bit more transparency for the fans and whatnot. Because when they don't tell you the status of a player who's injured, you're not really sure what should be going on. Like if Dougie's been out pretty much the entire year, and we miss him on the power play, we miss his veteran presence. So in my opinion, as I mentioned, the goaltending has been horrible, and I think they need to do something about that. But as I've said all season long, goalies are a lot harder to come by. There's two goalies on a team. There's 18 or 20 plus players. So in my opinion, when you lose a star player like Dougie on the blue line, I'm not saying those guys grow on trees either, but there's a lot more defensemen out there that you could look to try to bring in than try to acquire a goalie. So I think had we known the true extent of Dougie's injury, that the GM really should have tried to bring in a defenseman somewhere. And he really didn't either. He didn't bring in a goalie, he didn't bring in a defenseman. He just kind of stood, pat and obviously fired his coach now of all times. Doesn't really make much sense. But I mean, no, to answer your question, I mean, I think Dougie's out until at least the playoffs start. It doesn't even look like we're going to make the playoffs. So for all intents and purposes, he'll be back hopefully next year. But yeah, we definitely missed him. The other thing I want to talk about is just the trade deadline's coming up.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the Devils do. They probably should be sellers. There's been a lot of talk about Tyler Toffoli going somewhere else. The Devils just brought him in last year, the offseason to bolster their forward group. And so far, I think it's paid dividends. He's leading the team in scoring. You really can't ask for too much more than that. There's a lot of Devils fans out there who hate on the guy because he's kind of slow. And, when you compare him to the rest of our team, he definitely looks slow because the rest of our team is blazing fast. Guys like Bratt and Hughes and both Hughes brothers, really, they're blazing fast. So anybody you put out there is going to look a little slower, but you can't have a team built of just blazing fast guys. You got to have some snipers, some pure goal scorers, guys who are playmakers. I think Toffoli fits that bill. So he could definitely be an asset for another team, but the guy's produced. I want to see him stick around and get a contract with the Devils this offseason.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk about the Devils going after a goalie, like Jacob Markstrom on the Flames is a hot commodity right now. The guy's had a pretty good season. I think he's got like a 912 or 914 save percentage, which is good. But last year he had like an 892 or something like that. So he's not that consistent, and he's 34 years old. The Devils would have to give up sort of a king's ransom to bring him in. You're talking about trading a Luke Hughes or a Simone Nemec or an Alexander Holtz, some of their young assets that they've been working hard to acquire the last few years in order to bring in a guy like Markstrom. I'm personally just not willing to do it. Goalies decline when they're 35, 36, 37 years old. I have no interest in bringing in Markstrom next year, giving up assets for that. So I don't know what they do in goal. But I think, they should try to draft somebody, maybe bring another guy up from the minors, try to fleece a team that has a surplus of goalies out there. But I have no interest in Markstrom. I'm sure other teams do. I'm really curious to see what you guys do because
Yeah, me too.
You're right smack in the middle of that border, sellers, buyers. And as we talked about, you mentioned it all year long, this is kind of do or die for your group. They're getting a little older. If you don't think you're going to make the playoffs, maybe you move on from some of the veterans on your team and ship them off to a team who is truly in the hunt and could benefit from that veteran presence. I don't know.
Yeah, I almost interrupted you when you were talking because we started the show and it was 2-1 Panthers Devils, and then the Devils scored 2-2, and then the Panthers just scored. Now it's 3-2. So not trying to bust anything, but looking at the Islanders, I mean, we're on a 3-game win streak. We beat, coming off the road, we beat the Dallas Stars, in where am I at? February, sorry. We beat the Dallas Stars in overtime, and then we beat the Red Wings on the 29th on Thursday. So, and then we beat Bruins, which is a pretty big win. We beat teams ahead of us, so we just got to keep winning, got to keep bringing teams ahead of us. And not to jump course, but we talked on Thursday. I was texting you. So the interesting stat I wanted to mention about that game for the Islanders, it was their 59th game, and they were the last team to have an empty net goal. I don't know if you knew that, but that was
wow. I didn't know that.
They were the last team in all of NHL to get an empty netter. I thought that was pretty interesting, and that's why when I was texting you on Thursday, I was like, "Oh shoot, really cool stat for the pod." And last team in their 59th game to get the empty netter.
That's crazy. I guess that speaks to how you guys have been. You have the most overtime losses. I guess most of your games have been close or tied.
Yep.
So you really haven't had the opportunity to get an empty netter, I guess, is the only thing I can make from that.
Yeah, it's just, I always talk about it. I talked about the Stadium Series. We're a really good 5-on-5 team, and I've been trying to watch a lot of their games lately. I want to say 5-on-5. I don't know if we could pull that stat, but I want to say we're probably, plus 5 or 10 goals on 5-on-5. What kills us is obviously what kills you guys is the power play. I mean, you saw what happened 2 straight games. You saw what happened against the Rangers, and then you saw what happened against the Penguins. I mean, we got the win against the Penguins, but you saw what happened 2 straight games with our power play. So 5-on-5, we come out ready to rock and roll. It's just when we get a power play, it's like maybe we get too nervous or, we feel it like we can't clear the puck. But this whole week right now is do or die. I mean, right now we're playing St. Louis, who we played a couple weeks ago. We got killed. I think it was 4-0 or 4-1 in St. Louis. So right now we're down 1-0. And then the trade deadline is the 7th, and we play in San Jose. So we go on a little bit of a West Coast. We got San Jose on Thursday. We got Anaheim on Saturday and LA on Monday. And then we're off. Then we come back to Buffalo. So these next 3 games, we probably got to split. I mean, these next 4 games, we probably got to go 3-1 or at least get a point in every single game, bring it to overtime because looking at the standings right now, we are 6 points away from the Lightning and 6 points away from the Red Wings. And everybody knows the Lightning. You know the Lightning. I know the Lightning. They got the experience. So they're built for it. I think the Red Wings they're on a 2-game losing streak. I think they could, flip up a little bit. So if we could just keep winning or at least get a point in every single game going forward on this road trip and then tonight and then plus 3 road trip on the West Coast, I'd be happy with it. But if we get beat tonight bad, it's going to be interesting.
You guys are in a pretty, I don't want to say a great spot, but you're alive. And as you mentioned, you're 6 points back of the Lightning, but you have 3 games in hand. So theoretically, if you win your game in hand, you're tied with them. But you're also the exact same of the Flyers. So not only can you catch a wild card spot, but if you win your games in hand on the Flyers, you could sneak into that last Metropolitan spot. So
true.
You have a couple avenues to get to the playoffs. Plus, like you mentioned, the games that you got coming up is exactly what the Devils just had in the West Coast trip. But we didn't fare so well. We beat up on the Sharks, which was great, but they're terrible. They're the second worst team in the league. We lost to the Ducks, who we should have beat. And we lost to the Kings, who are a decent team, but we could have won that too. So we missed out on an opportunity there. And unlike you guys, when you have a couple teams like Buffalo and the Sharks who you could still play, our schedule is daunting. The next 6 games, we've got Florida tonight. We play the Rangers. I think we play Winnipeg or Vegas coming up. I think we play the Leafs. It's not good at all for the Devils.
I'll pull it up right now.
It's murderer's row, basically. And on top of that, we are 2 points behind you guys, and you have a game in hand in us. So we're very much behind the 8 ball. The Devils had a chance to control their own destiny, just win X amount of games and you're in kind of thing. But now we've painted ourselves in a corner. We're almost 500. I can't believe this team might even finish under 500, which is crazy. But we would need a lot of help from other teams and really back into the playoffs. And that's never where you want to be.
Yeah. So I got the schedule right here. You guys got Florida tonight, St. Louis on Thursday, Carolina on Saturday, Rangers on Monday, Dallas on Thursday, and then Phoenix on the following Saturday. So that's a pretty tough schedule. That's a tough schedule.
Rangers, Panthers, Hurricanes. I mean,
luckily, I know it's not a huge difference because you guys are playing sub 500 ball, but the Panthers, Blues, and Hurricanes are at home. I mean, that doesn't make a huge difference, but you got to go to New York and you got to go to
Because we're not
Dallas.
even good at home.
That's what I mean. It
mean,
doesn't make a difference. So
we have a better away record than we do home, if you can believe that, which is just incredible. I mean,
yeah, it's crazy.
It's a bad season, but anyway, I'm pulling for you guys now. I'll be pulling for the Lightning down the stretch. I live in the Tampa market, so I do have a sweet spot for them. So
yep. And
we'll
then I
see.
want to mention the Panthers too. They're just playing unbelievable hockey. I mean, they
They
had
are.
a 8-game win streak. They lost one, and now they got another 5-game win streak. And I pointed it out last week. Their record. I mean, it's pretty much identical. So on the home, they're 28-2. On the road, they're 22-8-2. So that's pretty consistent hockey, if I had to say so myself. I mean, they beat the Rangers last night, which is a huge win. I mean, they're up 3-2 tonight, which against you guys on a back-to-back on the road. Those are pretty impressive wins back-to-back on the road, I feel. So
yeah, they have I believe it's the second fewest goals allowed.
Yep.
They have the highest goal differential, and it's not even really close. They're plus 59, and I'm looking at the next closest. It looks like is Vancouver
48.
at
Yeah,
48.
Yeah.
So it's just not even close. What they're doing, and to me, you mentioned it. Your home and away records are pretty evenly balanced, and the goal differential that tells me that they're a balanced team. They're a consistent team. We saw it last year. I mean, they amazingly barely made the playoffs, I think, on the final day of the regular season last year, but they got hot and made it all the way to the Cup finals. And here they are again. We're, approaching trade deadline, and they are the best team in the league right now. So good for our buddy Chris Dolan. He's working for them down there. It's got to be an exciting time. So good for him and good for what they're doing. You got to give Paul Maurice, their coach, a lot of credit. Seems like he's got a lot to work with. Don't get me wrong. There's a ton of talent on that team, but seems like he's pushing the right buttons and he's got them working sort of like clockwork. So good for them.
Sam Reinhart too, come out of nowhere, 43 goals on the year. I mean, that's pretty
Reinhart,
impressive. Yeah.
Bennett, Barkov, Verhaeghe's great.
Verhaeghe's a beast. You got
obviously
Chuck.
Ekblad.
Yeah.
Kachuk. I mean, you name it. They're loaded. They're a lot of ways. I'm jealous. They're what the Devils should be emulating. Young, speedy. But they're probably a lot more disciplined. Clearly, they play better at home. That's I think what the Devils should be looking to aspire to, and sort of use them as a benchmark.
And bravo to them one more time. I remember a couple years ago they traded away Herberto after he had a 100-point season for Kachuk. Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty ballsy trade after I think he had at least 110 points, and to go out there and trade your leading point getter after you win the President's Cup. Because remember they won the President's Cup 2 years ago. The guy scores 110 plus points, and they trade him away for Kachuk, who, everybody knows the last name, but younger guy, and they don't really miss a beat. They upset the Bruins last year, and they're 88 points right now, 2 ahead of the Bruins for the President's Cup again. So it's very, very impressive, very cool organization. Looks like they got their head on straight. I mean, they got a director of sales that we all know and love. So that's always good. Right. So it's very impressive, very impressive stuff.
For sure. We'll be watching them and rooting for Chris come playoff time.
Yes, sir.
We're approaching the halfway point. It's amazing how time just flies. But before we do our beer segment, you want to talk a little bit of football for a moment?
Yeah, so I did want to talk about football. I don't know if you saw it. I'm sure everybody saw it, but I mean, Russell Wilson, he got traded to the Broncos 2 years ago. Had a head coach Nathaniel Hackett. They never really clicked, and they kind of had an off year. And then so they bring in Sean Payton last year, or this year. Everybody thinks Sean Payton is a quarterback whisperer. What he did with Drew Brees, his offensive mind, and they don't click again. So, there was parts on the sideline when he was running away and Peyton was yelling at him. Wilson was yelling at Peyton. And then, yesterday comes out that they're going to release him after March 13th. And then the biggest thing is $85 million dead cap hit. So that means that the next 2 years, Russell Wilson's going to be on whoever he's going to be on, and they're still going to be paying him an $85 million cap hit. I mean, that's one of the major blunders in the world. I mean, not the world, but in the world of NFL. They're saying that might be one of the biggest trade busts because, I mean,
it is.
They give him a lot of money in 2 years and he's gone. $85 million dead cap hit. Ridiculous.
Yeah. I've never been the biggest Russell Wilson fan. Not knocking what the guy's accomplished. I mean, I think he was when he came in the league, and he was young, he was really mobile. But I think it's just natural as you get older. Your legs start failing you a little bit, and he relied on that so much for his game, and it worked for a while. But I think he's lost his legs. He just does not seem like the same player. So I wasn't a big fan of the Broncos bringing him in. I just didn't really see it working out too well, and that's why they're moving on from him. But you're right. Like, it's a pretty big blunder. Tell me what you think, but I'm just wondering if maybe the organization is willing to eat that cost because of the owners. It's the Walton family now, right?
Yeah, so
Walmart.
it's Walmart. Yeah, so they got plenty
Yeah,
of money. Yeah.
right. I mean, so to me, it's almost a little unfair. Like, they just don't care. They're like, you know what? Just eat that money. It's not a big deal. But it's got to play, like you said, it's a cap hit. So
Yeah, it's a dead cap, 85 million the next 2 years.
it's lost money for the owners, who I guess can afford it. But I don't. Who is it? Elway, there's GM.
Yes, Elway's GM. So
Yeah, so he's gonna.
So that still goes against the salary cap. That means that
right.
85 million for 2 years is going to go against your salary cap. So you really got to play around that.
Cut out for him, like,
Exactly.
I mean, that's not a good position. I would be pissed if I was Elway.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it was. Whose decision was it to bring in Russ? It was probably Elway's, right? Unless
It was part Elway and probably part owners, the previous owners.
Yeah. I would be pissed if I was Elway, because now he's. I wouldn't want to be in his position. That's hard to work around.
That's going to be tough.
What is the NFL cap? Isn't it like 200 something, or?
I think I want to say it went up to like 150, but I can look it up.
Oh, is it 150? I thought it was over 2. Let me look it up.
I'm looking it up right here. Let's see NFL salary.
If it's only 150, you're talking half of the cap is eaten up now.
No, 255. Sorry,
255. Yeah, that's what.
255.4.
Even
so
still,
you got to think that's 43 and that's 42.5 million this year, 42.5 million next year.
Yeah,
for a player that's not even on your team, which is ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. So good luck to the Broncos. I mean, they got their work cut out for them. I wanted to talk just for a moment about my team, the Giants. They announced that they're not franchising Saquon Barkley this year like they did last year. I kind of think it's the right move. I like Barkley. He seems like a really good teammate. I don't love the comment that he made, I think last year before he was franchised and digging for a deal. And he said something like F the New York Giants or something. I don't remember the exact context. I never loved that kind of stuff. Players go through a lot. There's a lot of situations where they're done wrong by the organization, but you gotta take your lumps. You gotta take it like a man. He's not the only one in that situation. So I didn't love that comment. But I do like the guy as a player. He tried his heart out. When he's healthy, he could be explosive, just like the top backs in the league. Catches some passes, he blocks here and there, but the guy just hasn't been available on the field very often. I mean, he's been in the league, 6, 7 years now, 8 years. I don't know what it's been, but he's been healthy for maybe half of that amount of time, if that. So I think it was time to move on for everybody. I don't know where the Giants go from here at back. I'm really not in favor of drafting another running back high. I'll be honest. I did like the move when they brought him in. He was taken second overall, I think.
I believe so. Yeah.
Something like that. I liked it at the time. I watched him, you and I have some mutual friends who are Penn State fans. I watched him for many years, on Saturdays, just tearing up that league. And he seemed like one of those guys who was a game changer. And I think he could have been. He could have been that workhorse back. The Giants certainly tried to use him in that capacity when he was on the field. We struggled to have a good quarterback post Eli. We really haven't had many receivers. So they leaned on him when he was healthy, but he just wasn't healthy very often. So wish the guy the best. I hope he doesn't end up in the NFC East. There's talk about maybe him going to the Cowboys or something, maybe the Bears. I'd rather see him go to the AFC or something like that. But wish the guy the best. I just think it was the right time to move on.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about him throughout the whole year. It was pretty much put up or shut up, and you hit it right on the nail. I mean, he couldn't stay healthy. He's a hell of a talent, but when you're going to be talking all that stuff, you got to do something to keep yourself healthy. I think he organized that running back only call before the season started and said how running backs need to get respected more. But I mean, end of the day, I know football is a hard game, but players play hard and they find a way not to be injured all the time. So, I mean, a lot of his injuries are legit, but a lot of injuries, maybe he could have played through them. I'm not speaking for him. I mean, obviously, football, we don't play football, so I'm just speaking in general, but maybe he could have toughened it out a little bit and showed that he could have. I mean, I know one was an ACL, I know one was a bad ankle injury, but still, I mean, for him to talk all that crap and then get injured year after year, it's kind of like, enough's enough.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree. So, wish him the best and see where he goes from here. We had the NFL Combine this past weekend, and I paid a little bit of attention to it. Couple things caught my eye. Number one, I kind of wanted your thoughts and maybe educate me here for a moment. I don't know if I'm just having a brain fart senior moment kind of thing, but it got me thinking, are there any other professional sports leagues, or even we'll just say the four major ones in North America, that have a sort of combine or tryout? I don't think the NHL does. Does the NBA or baseball? I mean, is it unique to the NFL to have the combine?
It's unique, yes, but not unique, no, because in the way, yes, because it's, such a popular sport. They do all these drills, but I've seen an NBA combine and I've seen it
Really?
on NBA TV. So they do have one. I don't know if baseball has one per se, but they have kind of like a couple weeks before the draft, they do a combine. And then NHL, like you said, there isn't one. I'm not sure if there is one, but I think NFL, just because NFL with college football and the popularity of both college and NFL, that's why it gets so much light. But there are combines in NBA and MLB.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, definitely the NFL one seems to be the most highly publicized. It gets the most media attention. I mean, NFL's
Yeah.
king of the country, so it's not a big surprise. I really didn't know about the other sports. I guess I see the point to it a little bit. From a player's perspective, the young kids out there who maybe didn't have a great uh, last season before going pro, maybe they want to use it as an opportunity to up their draft stock, I guess, and get noticed. So I could see that a little bit. But part of me thinks, I mean, haven't you seen enough of what you should have seen, everything throughout a player's usually 3 or 4 year college career? I mean, in my opinion, if you're a good scout, you're a good GM, you should have tabs on most of these guys.
Yep.
But I can see from the players, I guess, wanting that last shot to make a difference. But I also get the guys who don't attend. A lot of guys I know don't want to get hurt, or they don't want to have a bad showing, so they're like, hey, kind of like what I just said. They're like, you know what? Hopefully you've seen enough of me throughout my college career where I really don't have to go to the combine and prove anything, which I completely agree with. That's kind of my stance on it. I don't know if you got different opinion.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the combine, probably 80% of it is made for people with no name colleges from like D3 schools, or if they were like a lifelong backup in college. So, if me and you went to college and we weren't really starters per se, but we were on the team, we would go to the combine and show that we can catch. If we're a wide receiver, we'll show that we can catch routes. If we're a skilled player, we'll show our 40, our 40 time, show how fast we are. So a lot of it is for no-name college players to get their name out there to show that they can run routes and they can do drills. But I do agree with you. I mean, a lot of guys don't want to go because they don't want to get hurt, obviously, or they don't want to have a bad day and lose their stock. So,
Yeah,
but it was pretty cool too. There was a record that was broke. Xavier
I'm looking
Worthy,
at it.
yeah, Xavier Worthy, who was the wide receiver for the University of Texas, he won the 40 in 4.21 seconds. He broke John Ross, wide receiver out of Washington. I think he was 4.23 back in 2008. If you want to quote me right, was it 8?
I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
And it's kind of funny because that guy, he went top 10 pick and he did nothing. So it just shows you, how, speed will get you. But I mean, he was a top 10 pick and he kind of busted. So
Yeah. Yeah, I
again,
saw that too. I mean, good for the guy for breaking the record. Looks like he had it by 0.07 seconds. So, I mean,
something like that. Yeah.
um, compared to the next closest guy in this combine, I meant. Um, So good for him. I was talking to a couple friends this weekend who also watched it, and they said that um, Worthy doesn't seem like they said he seems like he has sort of a track build to him, that he was more just
Yeah,
like
he
a sprinter.
does.
So
He
don't know
does.
that that's really necessarily going to translate to the football field into catching ability, maybe running routes. It seems like maybe he's just would be a good downfield runner kind of guy, those long deep bombs, Hail Mary situations or something. But you never know. I'm not writing the guy off, but I'm not somebody who necessarily puts a ton of stock into some of these things or the records. They're nice, they're impressive, like you said. I mean, I think you brought up a great point. Good for guys who maybe didn't get the same kind of notoriety and attention throughout the year, the season, and their career in college if they played for small schools. Maybe if I was a GM of a coach or of a team, rather, I would, and I saw somebody like Worthy or any of these other guys, maybe, if I had a 6th or 7th round pick, I put them on my draft board or something, but it's not really going to move the needle too much with me, with a first, second, even 3rd round pick. I'm probably not changing my mind because I'd rather go on a bigger sample size of data than
Yep.
just some kind of showing on a random weekend in March.
Yep. Yeah. So it's kind of funny here. So not to bewilder the fact a little bit, but if you look at the top wide receiver, Rome or Donze from Washington, he ran a
Yeah.
4.45. So
Yep.
it kind of tells you how speed is in everything. I mean, speed is noteworthy, obviously 4.21, but probably the best wide receiver in the draft this year ran a 4.45. So it
Yeah.
just shows you that speed's not everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
yeah.
agree. Quick question before we break for our beer segment. This has just got me thinking because we're talking NFL. The Wonderlic test, does that come out around now too? Like, I know it's more of an intelligence kind of thing or aptitude, but does that take place around the time the combine does, or is that what's the deal with that? I don't honestly don't know.
So I want to say it's around the draft. Wonderlic.
Okay. And is that the same thing, like where it's optional, or does every player have to take that? I don't know the rules around it. It's always kind of puzzled me that because I know there's been some massive stories out there in the past about guys who got miserable grades. And then there's other guys who just, who ace it. And I don't know if there's any correlation between those scores. Like if the guys who do horrible end up flaming and busting out, or if the guys who ace it are these, genius quarterbacks.
Yeah, so it was at the Scouting Combine. Yeah, so I guess it hasn't come out yet, but yeah, it just shows. I guess pretty much it's an intelligent test right now. I'm looking at it. It does all different type of basic stuff. It says math, vocabulary, and reasoning. So it's assessing the cognitive ability and problem solving aptitude of prospective employees. So
I think we're reading the same thing. That's the Wikipedia. So that
yep,
it's a generic test for anybody. I had no idea. I thought this was something specific to the NFL, but it sounds like it's almost like the SATs or something like that.
yep, and they do it at the combine. So they haven't talked about it yet. So maybe they'll be coming out here in the next couple of days because it just happened, the combine. So
Hmm.
interesting stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely interesting. So
What's really interesting is we're only 2 shows away and we NFL sucked us back in. I thought that's kind of funny.
yeah, I mean, I think it was worth talking about.
No, it is. It
NFL.
always is. I'm just saying it's funny that it sucked us back in after 2 episodes.
NFL's king, man. I mean, we know we'll be talking a little bit more about it in April for sure as we get close to the draft. So that's what they want. They
Yep.
want nonstop around the clock, around the year coverage. So
Yep.
it's hard
And
to
that will
hard to
do it.
ignore it.
I'm getting
Hey,
thirsty, my
hey,
man. How about you?
break time. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna get ready to do our beer review. If you're watching, listening, make sure you stick with us. We take a short break and we'll be back in a few.
Yeah, buddy.
gas bus, smile on a couple beautiful girls tell me goodbye. Trucks break down, dogs run off, politicians lie, been fired by the boss. It takes one hand to count the things I can count on. No, there ain't much man that ain't ever let me down. Long neck, ice cold beer never broke my heart. Like diamond rings and football teams have torn this boy apart. Like a neon dream, it just don't know me. The bars in this guitar. And long neck, ice cold beer never broke my heart.
All right. Here we go. Our weekly beer review segment. One of my favorites. I know it's yours too.
Oh man, I love it.
Keep me honest. Who went first last week?
I believe I did.
I thought so. Okay.
Yes. So you're up.
Got a little something here. It's already not serving as much good luck as I was hoping. I'm a little superstitious, but I brought out a new cup.
I like it. Okay.
To give my boys a little juice. You know, football season's over. I had to retire the Giants cup that I was using for a while. It looks like I think it's still a 16-ounce cup, so it's not going to do me any favors when I get the tall boys. Still
I got
bigger
you.
one like you, but had to change it up. So here's what I'm going with this week. Hold up the can so you can see it. Can you see the name?
Madre
Tambor. I don't know how you pronounce it either. But the can art kind of caught my eye for a couple reasons. I like the island kind of picture it's got on there. The sunset.
Yeah, it looks cool. I like it.
It looked like it would be a pretty light, pretty easy beer to drink. The style is a Hell style lager, which I'm a pretty big fan. I've had a couple of those in my day. But I was really going for a kind of an easy, smooth, light beer this time around. The last couple, as you know, they've been a little out there for me. I had a couple sours.
Yep.
So this one, you know, there's not much on the can in terms of a description. To be honest, there's really nothing. A lot of the beers I pick are good at describing them, but this one, it's just brewed and bottled by Casa Bruja. It's in Panama City from Panama, so it's sort of an international beer, I guess.
That's kind of cool.
4.9%, but that's really all they give you. So not exactly sure what to expect, but we're going to give it a try here.
What's the ABV on that bad boy?
4.9.
Okay. All right. Improving. I like it.
A little hard to see, I guess, with the decals on the cup, but can you see that pour?
Yeah, looks good. Looks kind of like
good.
Looks almost like a wheat beer. Looks like a Blue Moon color.
Yeah, it does. It does. Let me see if I smell anything. Kind of just your traditional lager smell, I would say. Nothing too overwhelming, but let me give it a sip. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy. To be honest, there's nothing, even the taste is like the smell. There's nothing
kind of bland,
overwhelming about it. It's not bitter. It's not fruity. You can taste a little bit of the hops, but I mean, it's when you think of lager and more specifically a Hell style, it's pretty spot on. Let me get one more sip here.
All right.
It's good. It's really good. It's what I was hoping for. I'm trying to think of something to compare it to. Motorworks, local brewery here in Bradenton, has a couple lagers. I would say it's pretty similar. This is like if you're ever in Panama, if you see this thing around and you're a fan of lagers, I would pick this up. It's a good, easy beer to drink. It's refreshing. I would have it on a hot summer day. I'm going to give this one a solid 8.2.
All right.
Pretty
I like it.
pretty good beer. Pretty good beer. It doesn't knock me off my socks, but it was good.
So I got myself a lager as well, my friend.
All right, I like it.
So I have
like
a
it.
Captain Lawrence Orange Crusher Citrus Lager. It says tangy, refreshing, and crisp, and you can kind of see it. So it's an Orange Crusher Citrus Lager. Captain Lawrence. It's from Elmsford, New York, and it's a malt beverage with natural flavors. 4.2 alcohol, orange flavored lager. So I'm pretty excited. You know me and my orange flavored stuff.
I saw that one and
Oh, did you
almost
really?
grabbed it. And almost grabbed it. Yep.
That's
it appealed
hilarious.
to me too. Yeah.
That's hilarious. I like it. So let's see what we got.
What's the ABV on this one? 4.2, did you say?
I believe so. That's got a lot of foam in that mother effer.
I see that. Wow, this might be one of your worst pours ever.
No, dog.
Jeez, look at that thing. Just you're having to drip that sucker.
It's not my fault.
Oh, wow. I'm not going to pile on right now, but I think I have every right to, given the crap that I've taken on this show.
No, man. I'll make it right. It's almost like a seltzer.
For the viewers out there, we don't all pour beers this way. This is. Oh man! All right, there it is. You got through it. Well done.
Oof! I don't know how good this is going to be. I don't know how good this is going to be.
Well,
it smells rough.
Does it? It looks a little rough. You might have to let that head sit for just a second. So
it looks like a seltzer.
Cloudy.
Looks like a seltzer.
Does it?
And you know me and seltzers, we don't get along.
What's the smell?
It almost smells like Dawn dish detergent.
Oh boy!
Like you ever get orange Dawn dish or like orange or lemon Dawn? Mm-hmm. That's what it smells like. Wow! All right, here goes nothing. That's wow. That might be the worst beer I've ever had in my life.
Really?
Holy hell.
Orange Crush from
I don't even know what kind of rating I should give this. Wow, that's horrible.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but this is a rarity.
5.2. Geez,
wow.
Louise.
Really? Wow.
That's horrible.
Okay, we're honest on this show.
That bad, that's horrible. I'm gonna finish it obviously, but that's god awful. Ugh.
Really?
Oof.
Does it taste like Dawn dish soap?
Yes, it does. There's nothing there too.
Wow.
All right.
Okay. 5.2. By far the lowest rating from either of us. I think I don't know that I've even given a beer in the 6s. I think.
I don't know if you can really see it, but you can see through it. Look at that.
Yeah.
You see it? You can kind of see through it.
A little bit.
It's almost like if they made it with Dawn dish soap and they poured a beer in it and then they put water and then they added it with more Dawn soap and that's what it tastes like.
Wow.
Oof. I'm not gonna dump it out, but wow.
Well, we got one thumbs up today, one thumbs down. But again, if you're a beer fan, cheers to you and Orange Crush.
You can see. Look how close it is now. Look how see through it is. Jeez Louise.
Yeah. Wow.
Gosh darn. Oh man.
Mine was good.
Yeah, I wish mine was.
Yeah, sorry about that, but they can't all be winners. They can't all be winners.
And hey, man, said, out of 23 episodes, everything's been around a 7.5 or higher for me. So I guess I was due for one. You've had
mostly positive, good reviews. So, but like I said, if we're nothing if we're not honest on this show. So there you have it, a 5.2 and an 8.2. But yeah, anyway,
on the Richter scale, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is. It is. So moving on, we got a few minutes left. We can roll through a couple things. I want to just briefly touch on golf for a moment.
Let's pick a winner for the Bay Hill. Let's pick a winner too.
Yes. Yeah. Great idea. So before we pick the winner, we're obviously in the heat of golf season now. The FedEx Cup I did a little research, just very, very high level stuff, because I really hadn't been well versed in how it all works. I didn't realize how the point system worked. I've always kind of wondered why some guys play some tournaments and don't play the others, because I know the FedEx Cup works on a point system, and you
I can
want
answer
to
that unless you found it.
What's that?
I can answer that unless you found that answer.
Well, I found a little bit. I guess since 2022, the winner of the FedEx Cup gets, I think, an $18 million prize. I think there's a $75 million total pool, and first place gets 18 million, which is not nothing. I mean, that's a huge payday for pretty much anybody. So I could see a huge incentive for guys wanting to play in every tournament to amass points, because it's, I mean, think about it. I mean, when's the last time we've really had a golfer go back to back on one of these events on the tour? I'm not saying it never happens, but the field is huge. There's 150 guys or something.
Yeah.
And then, obviously only, a smaller number that make the cut after the first 2 days, but there's a large field. And I just don't always understand some guys not playing every week. I mean, not going to knock anybody, but we know golf isn't exactly the most physical sport. You and I play it. It's not like hockey or football where these guys are playing contact sports. They play 4 days in a row, then they get a couple days off. So, barring some kind of elbow injury, shoulder or something where you can't, back injury like Tiger dealt with, I don't quite get why these guys aren't out there every single week trying to amass as many points as they can. I'm curious your thoughts on that, but that's my understanding of the FedEx Cup and how the point system works.
Well, there's some events that get more points than other. So I want to say the Arnold Palmer Bay Hill this weekend, the TPC, the Memorial, the Genesis Invitational, the Pebble Beach Invitational, and the majors. They get more points than just, Greg Gross Invitational or Dan O'Brien Invitational. So a lot of these guys want to play the big events. And what a lot of the guys these do, so like the Masters is the first tournament of the year, and that's always Easter weekend. And they're making their Florida kick right now. So Bay Hill is this week. The TPC is the following week. So a lot of the big boys play 2 weeks in a row. Then they take off because I think the following week is in Tampa, down by you, the Innsbruck, right?
It's not quite Tampa. It's close, like more like
Clearwater.
Yeah, exactly.
So they got 3 in a row. So a lot of guys will play either all 3 or 2 out of 3, mainly the Bay Hill and the TPC, and they get more points for the win. And then that's how the FedEx works. And then end of the year, you got to qualify for the FedEx Cup playoffs, and they start with like 4 tournaments. At first, it's like the top 100, then it goes top 50, then top 30, and then top 20, and then the Tour Championship. So it's a pretty cool little system, but they they know what they're doing. So it's pretty cool. It kind of makes the players want to play the big events, which is pretty cool, because you want to, at a big event, you're paying $85 for a ticket. You want to see the big boys. So I think it's pretty cool what they're doing. And, it kind of goes against Live. We haven't really touched on Live on our episodes, but they're trying to compete with Live. But I'm a PGA guy instead of Live. I know we haven't really talked on Live, but it's kind of just them competing with Live, which is
I thought
cool.
They were kind of one and the same. Didn't they announce that they were merging or something? Has that not happened yet?
They've merged, but it's kind of like the best way I can describe it and the best way I've understood it is it's kind of like if you look at Budweiser as a brew company, Budweiser, but they own Michelob Ultra, they own a bunch of different beers, but then there's Budweiser up top, and then there's different beers underneath it. So I think it's PGA Tour, and then it's Live and stuff underneath it. So they're not like together, but they're together, if that makes sense. They're like their own entity, but they're owned by PGA Tour. So it'd be paycheck to Greg Gross, paid by PGA Tour, but Live, you know what I mean? So
that makes sense.
But I think it would be pretty cool. I think we should pick a winner for the Bay Hill. Have you looked at anything, or I'm kind of ready to rock and roll?
I'm looking at there's a little meaning behind it, but I don't know that it's a great pick or not. You got one?
Yeah, I'm going to go with my boy Victor Hovland. He's a friend of the show, Chris Dolan. He's a Norwegian. He's got some Norwegian family. I used to have some Norwegian family who wasn't really family, but we called them family. and he actually won the Tour Championship last year. He won the FedEx Cup, and he's due for a big win. He's at plus 1,400 odds, so he's one of the top odds guys. But I'm going to go with Victor Hovland. He's got a good game for Bay Hill, and that's what I'm going with.
Okay. My pick, I wish I had done a little more research or put thought into guys.
That's okay. I just put you on the thing. It's all good. My bad.
No, I got somebody in this. Yeah. I'm sticking with it, but I don't know how he normally does at the Arnold Palmer, if like he knows the course, because some guys, they just place well at certain courses. But my pick is going to be good old JT, Justin Thomas.
Oh, that's a solid pick.
Maybe you know why. I'm really just picking it because he's a friend of yours now too, I guess you could say. A good friend of mine
of course.
Goes by the name of Adam Young, but he moonlights by the name Justin Thomas. He is a quote-unquote doppelganger. Supposedly, I even think he does look quite a bit like him, but he's almost his body double. He could be a stunt double for him. He looks just like him. Which is kind of a funny inside joke among friends. But I'm going to go with Justin Thomas.
Not a bad pick. I like Justin Thomas.
He's played in 4 events so far, it says. So I'm hoping maybe he's kind of a little fresh and he'll be ready to go.
Yeah, usually this is kind of like their kickoff to like the major sports, like the major schedule. Because like I said, they got the Bay Hill, then TPC, and then middle of April is the Masters. And bless you. But so that's a really good pick. So you can write it down, see who wins. I got Victor and you got Justin. So
all right, Victor and Justin, I am. And for one of your good friends, a guy who I've never met but hope to meet one day, who says I write a lot of stuff down and never refer to it, we're going to reference this next show, our picks. And Jeffrey, if you're listening or watching, I told Dan we referred back to some things. We referred back to some college picks and things like that. But I just write a lot of stuff down to keep the flow of the show and keep myself honest about some of
he'll be watching it tomorrow from his house and he'll let me know. And
we pay attention to our listeners and we appreciate them. So
he's the one who dropped off this vintage hat too. So we can give him props on that one.
Absolutely. So got a few more minutes. We could squeeze a couple things in. You want to talk a little bit of UFC?
Yeah, so I want to hit basketball real quick because there was a cool little stat that happened over the weekend. I don't know if you saw it, but the Boston Celtics, they were the first NBA team to record 3 50-point wins in a season. So I thought that was pretty impressive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. You mean 50 points as in they beat the other team by 50?
Yeah, so they beat the Warriors on Sunday 140-88. So they've had 3 of those wins, which is pretty impressive. Going off of that, they
almost beat them by double.
Yeah, so they're the first team to have 3 of those wins by 50 or more. Yeah, which is pretty crazy.
Cool. And you said they beat the Wizards,
the Warriors.
Oh, Warriors! Because I'm looking at where are the Warriors? I'm trying to find their record.
They are number 10 right now.
Yeah, they're squeaking into a playoff spot right now. But I'm looking at the Wizards, and they actually overtook the Pistons. We spent some time.
I know, 9-52. Yeah,
yeah, they've got a half game, and actually, the Pistons
15-game losing streak. They're on a 15-game losing streak. That's wild.
This is wild. Like, there's been some incredible losing streaks in basketball this year. Just crazy. And if you look at the winning streak, going back to the Celtics you were just talking about, 11 in a row, man. I mean, they just
look at their home record too, 29-3.
29-3, 48-12 overall. I mean, I know it was a little bit of a homer obvious pick, but I rode with them from the beginning of the year. I know basketball the least of the 4 major sports, but I'm paying more attention. And I looked over their roster at the beginning of the year, looking at a team that I thought would be my pick. And I'm just like, how do you go away from those guys? And it just seems like they're dominating. You and I talked, we get down on some betting action, and we use the Hard Rock app, and I bet a lot of hockey. I haven't yet gone to the NBA, but they had some props out there trying to entice you into some Jason Tatum bets because the guys
I saw those
rocking and rolling. So they look dominant.
And then my off the wall picks that were pretty ballsy, I have to say, were the Magic and the Thunder. And you see the Magic are number 6 and the Thunder are number 2. So those were pretty good picks because they did nothing the last couple of years. So I'm pretty happy at that. I mean, I did that from day one. So my boys are still looking pretty good.
Yeah, they are still looking pretty good. I'm curious, what do you think about? I'm gonna have to start paying a little more attention, like you mentioned, for listeners out there. Dan and I both, especially me, I listen to a lot of sports shows in the New York market. I pay close attention to those teams. Most of them are I'm a fan of them. I'm curious about the Knicks. Like they haven't been very good in a while, but they're holding their own. Um, you know, pretty decent home record, 20-11. Not so great on the road, but they're 500. It looks like they're battling for a playoff position. You think they're going to hold it out? And you think they got a chance to make some noise?
So they've been pretty bad the last couple of years. Last year they won a couple playoff series, and they got a pretty good team. But the thing with the Knicks right now is they're very, very, very injured. Their top center, Mitchell Robertson, he's been out for I want to say about 3-4 months. Their second best player, Julius Randle, he's been out for about a month and a half. And Jalen Brunson just had a knee-to-knee contusion on Sunday, and he's day-to-day. So really what's happening right now is they're just surviving, and they just kind of got to tread water until those guys come back, because fortunately for Jalen Brunson, it's only a knee-on-knee contusion. It's not an ACL or an MCL. So he'll hopefully be day-to-day. Julius Randle was out on the court the other day. He has like a separated shoulder per se. So he'll be coming back. And then Mitchell Robertson, he's the starting center. So they're injured right now. They're playing really good ball. They have a good coach, Tom Thibodeau. And I think they'll be good. They just got to really tread water until they get more reinforcements coming back.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's kind of what I was thinking. If they can, like, I think that was a great way to describe it. They're surviving. But if they get healthy, you never know. Maybe they can truly make some noise and a push into the postseason. So good for them.
Yeah, definitely.
I know that city is just, New York is just starved for any kind of sports positivity. I mean, the Rangers have been good the last few years. Devils made the playoffs last year, but Jets and Giants just have not been very good in football. Your Yanks are usually pretty good, but they missed the playoffs last year. The Mets seem like they're always have no shortage of drama, and they're a dumpster fire. Hockey teams outside of the Rangers haven't been great. And the Knicks and Nets in basketball have not been great. So good for them. I'm actually pulling for them because that city deserves something to cheer for.
Yep, definitely. And then we'll move over to UFC. Everybody knows we like UFC. It's a $299. And so in April there'll be UFC 300, which is a pretty monumental fighting, accomplishment 300. But the main card is Sugar Sean O'Malley. He's an Irishman. He's 17-1. His only loss was against Marlon Vieira. And technically, I was talking with Jeff. He's a big UFC guy. And he was saying that Sean O'Malley, the only reason why he lost to Marlon Vieira is he broke his foot. And this is a rematch. So right now, he's minus 218 odds. He's the odds-on favorite. I think Sean O'Malley is going to make it happen. I'm going to pick him to win. I mean, he's the champion. The only reason why he lost is because he broke a foot. He was kicking him, and I think he went up against his shin or his side, and it broke his foot, and that's how he lost the first fight.
Are you
he's
telling
17-1.
O'Malley's only loss is to the guy he's fighting this weekend?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
And the only reason why he lost is because he broke his foot. So that tells you something.
Okay. Interesting.
Another good fight. You've heard this name before, Dustin Poirier. I know you've heard that name before.
Sure.
He's fighting Bernard Saint-Diens. It's a Frenchman. Yeah. Don't really know too much about him. I know Dustin Poirier. I love the way he fights. So that's going to be a great fight. I think Dustin Poirier should pull it out. Obviously, right now he's not the odds-on favorite. He's a plus 142 underdog, but I've seen him fight multiple times. I think he's going to pull it out. Another fight that I know about, Kevin Holland. I don't know if you've ever heard that name. Kevin Holland versus Michael Page. That looks like a pretty even fight. I've seen Kevin Holland fight a bunch of times, and I think Kevin Holland will pull it out. And the other fight, there's two other fights that Gilbert Burns against Jack Della Mandolina. So Gilbert Burns, I watched him fight in Jacksonville, Florida, and he fought probably the best fight I've ever seen in UFC. Not just because I was live, but because, it was 3 rounds, and they were going punch, 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 and they went all 3 rounds. He ended up losing, but it was a hell of a fight. So I've been a big fan of Gilbert Burns ever since. So I think he'll win. And then the last fight of the main card is Peter Yan versus Song Yadong. He's a Chineseman. Peter Yan used to be the bantamweight champion, and he lost. I want to say he's lost his last 3 fights. So he's got the talent in there, but I think he'll come back with a vengeance, and I think he'll win this weekend. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
I don't know some of the other fights. I know the two main ones, O'Malley and Vera, and I definitely know Poirier. We got some friends who I think are pretty big fans of him, so I'll be tuning in for those especially, and I'll probably watch the other divisions. The one who sticks out to me is that welterweight division. Michael Page. It says he's 21-2. I always look at guys who just are on those amazing runs. Now, granted, I don't know who he's fought and what the decisions have been like, but you can't deny. I mean, 21-2 is pretty impressive. I mean, I think that's the best record other than maybe O'Malley, who's 17-1. But 21-2 is impressive. So I'll pay attention to that fight because, I mean, you just said you expect Holland to win, but it doesn't. I don't think Page is going to be a pushover based on his record. So I'll be tuning into that one for sure. Are any of these fights for titles or no?
Yes. So the O'Malley Vieira fight is a bantamweight title bout.
Okay.
So that'll go 5 rounds.
Why does the lightweight Poirier and Saint Denis says co-main? Is that just the co-main event? Is that what that means?
Yeah, it's just the co-main event of the night. It doesn't mean that it's a championship fight. It just means it's a co-main.
Okay. Got it. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we'll be paying attention. We not really an announcement or anything, but you and I know, obviously, and listeners and viewers out there don't, but we're going to be hanging out together this weekend in person, doing our annual spring training trip that we do, catching a couple games. So we'll be watching UFC, the 299 together in person somewhere, either at the bar or maybe at home, but we'll be watching it together. It should be a good one. Yeah,
we're going to Lakeland, so you'll be able to notch one off your trip. And we're going to go to Bradenton. So it's actually pretty funny. We're going to see the Pirates 2 days in a row. We're going to see them in Lakeland, and then we're going to see them in Bradenton. As much as I love seeing different teams, I'm not at all upset about seeing the same team twice 2 days in a row. If anything, me neither. It'll be interesting to see, if there's any guys out there that do well both days. That would be a pretty good indication that maybe they're just going to have a really good season or something. So I'm excited to see them, and I am excited to go to Lakeland. It'll be a new stadium for me. I know you've been there. But crossing that one off my list, so it should be a good time. Yeah, I haven't been there since they redid it, so they put a bunch of money into it. I think I mentioned this last show. They used to be called Joker Merchant Stadium. Now it's Joker Merchant Stadium at Publix Field. So I think Publix ended up putting $10-15 million into it, and now they kind of have a whole walkway behind, is what I've seen from looking on the TV. So I'm excited to definitely go there because, like I said, it's one of the older ballparks, but they've kind of made it look better. So I'm excited, and you can't go wrong with Lecom Park. I mean, I think that's the oldest ballpark by far. I think they're 1930, 1940, but you're probably right. We'll have to look it up, but it's been there for a while. It's gone through a couple name changes. It's gone through its own fair share of renovations, but it's in a cool part of town. There's a couple breweries that will probably be hitting maybe before game day or after or something. But it's a nice park. It's got a wraparound deck, like you mentioned, little tiki bar or some kind of bar in the outfield that we usually visit. And there's good seats. You can get close to the action, which we talked about last week is why we do it. It's just a cool experience. And as we mentioned last week, if you haven't gone to spring training game, definitely get out there. The weather's great, and you can really see some of these players up close. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So maybe we might do a couple videos from the show, from the venues. You can count on it, definitely. Yeah, but I think that's all I really got. What about you? You got anything? Any closing remarks? I think we kind of hit on a lot of things. That's it, man. Another good one in the books. We appreciate everybody tuning in to us, either watching us on the web or checking us out on anywhere you can get your podcast. So always appreciate the support, and rest assured we'll be back next week with another hour of sports recaps. Definitely be sharing our experience at some of these games. But appreciate everybody tuning in. Overtime Sports Show. Greg Gross, Dan O'Brien. We are signing off. Yep. Be ready for a full MLB show in a couple weeks here to go over the full MLB season. Just a little more to come on that. But other than that, see you later. Looking forward. Howdy. Everybody come see the greatest show. Gather up all juggalos and roll. Come on. Everybody come see the greatest show. Gather up all juggalos and roll. Come on. Everybody come see the greatest show. Gather up all juggalos and roll. Come on. Everybody come see the greatest show. Come on.
Everybody come, everybody come sing.